On July 10, 2025, the United States and 18 partner nations launched a major joint military exercise in the Indo-Pacific region. The scale was notable. 35,000 troops, approximately 300 fighter aircraft and advanced combat systems were deployed across strategic bases from Guam to the Philippines. Officially described as a training and coordination exercise, it was the largest such mobilization in the region since the Cold War. The intent, according to U.S. military leadership, is to ensure interoperability among allies, strengthen deterrence, and rehearse multi-domain operations in increasingly complex environments. The nature of these exercises, conducted near China's maritime periphery, underscores ongoing shifts in regional defense posture. With Beijing continuing to expand its naval and missile capabilities, many analysts interpret this show of force as a signal to both allies and adversaries. However, it also raises the stakes in an already sensitive region, heightening the potential for miscalculation or escalation. The multinational exercise introduced several operational strategies that reflect current U.S. military doctrine in the Indo-Pacific. The deployment of fighter jets to 16 dispersed bases, including Guam, Palau, and the Philippines, reflects a strategic shift toward distributed lethality. Instead of relying on centralized, vulnerable bases, U.S. forces are now training to operate from multiple austere locations. This approach complicates targeting for adversaries and increases survivability in case of a first strike. These locations are geographically diverse, allowing for dynamic force movement, sustained air operations and more flexible response options. In particular, dispersal aims to protect high-value assets from long-range precision missile threats. A critical focus of the drills was logistics under contested conditions. The U.S. and its partners practiced resupplying forward operating bases via sea and air, emphasizing the rapid delivery of fuel, ammunition, and parts to the front lines. The proposed joint logistics network spans the Coral Sea to Christmas Island, a stretch covering thousands of kilometers of ocean. The goal is to prevent any single point of failure and ensure that forces remain operational despite potential interdiction efforts. The exercise marked the first use of a land-based, low-profile missile platform capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles, with ranges exceeding 1,100 miles, 1,800 kilometers. If deployed in locations like Luzon, this would place large portions of China's southeastern coast within striking distance. Incorporating new technologies into live-fire scenarios allows the U.S. to evaluate weapon effectiveness, targeting accuracy, and integration with allied command structures. It also sends a message that legacy Cold War-era platforms are being rapidly upgraded or replaced. For the first time, artificial intelligence and cyber warfare were integrated into the joint training agenda. Participating forces tested electronic countermeasures, simulated cyber attacks, and evaluated data-sharing systems across different militaries. The inclusion of non-kinetic warfare reflects modern battlefield priorities. Control of information, electronic dominance, and resilience against digital interference are now as critical as physical firepower. These exercises also evaluated how quickly partners could respond to electronic disruptions and rebuild secure communication. From China's perspective, the exercises are viewed as a form of external pressure and strategic containment. While Beijing has not issued formal threats, officials have underscored that the Pacific is not a free playfield, and that China has its own asymmetric countermeasures. In response to the U.S. dispersal strategy, Chinese analysts suggest prioritizing long-range missile strikes against runways, fuel depots, and logistical nodes. Targeting the enablers, not just the jets, could render dispersed forces ineffective. Swarm drone technology and precision missile systems could be used to overwhelm resupply chains and interdict transportation routes. The goal would be to degrade the mobility and sustainability of foreign assets in the region, turning distributed deployments into logistical liabilities. China views the 19-country coalition as diverse but loosely unified. While partners such as Japan and Australia are strongly aligned with Washington, others may be more hesitant about direct confrontation. Differences in threat perception, geographic vulnerability, and national interests mean that unanimity in crisis is not guaranteed. China may leverage diplomacy, economic incentives, or strategic ambiguity to weaken alliance cohesion. Unlike its rivals, China enjoys interior lines. Its major air bases, naval ports, and missile silos are close to potential theaters of operation. This proximity reduces supply strain and accelerates response time. China's missile arsenal, including the DF-21D carrier killer, and DF-26, which can strike targets as far as Guam, creates a strategic buffer zone. The newer DF-27 hypersonic missile adds another layer of deterrence, potentially bypassing advanced U.S. missile defenses. Despite the perception of U.S. dominance, China's military modernization has closed many gaps. In some areas, like shipbuilding, missile deployment, and industrial scale, it has arguably overtaken its Western counterparts. China's J-20 stealth fighter is now in serial production, with upgrades enhancing radar evasion and situational awareness. Together with J-16 and J-35 variants, China can field a credible counter to F-22 and F-35 platforms. Advanced air-to-air missiles and beyond visual range targeting systems improve its air combat capabilities, especially in home territory where early warning systems and data sharing are optimized. The People's Liberation Army Navy plan now fields 3 aircraft carriers, the Liaoning, Shandong, and the new generation Fujian, as part of a growing blue water fleet. Supporting them are Type 055 destroyers, which displace over 12,000 tons and are equipped with advanced radar, anti-air, and missile systems. China's anti-ship missile capability, particularly with the YJ-21 hypersonic platform, provides it with the ability to deny access to large regions of the Western Pacific. China's missile force is tailored for regional denial and strategic deterrence. The DF-21D and DF-26 are deployed in large numbers, covering U.S. bases and carriers operating far from Chinese shores. If nuclear conflict ever became a consideration, China retains a second strike capability based on mobile launchers, hardened silos, and a growing nuclear submarine fleet. Another major factor in conflict endurance is production capacity. China's defense industry is tightly integrated with its vast manufacturing base, allowing for rapid conversion of civilian factories into military production. Estimates suggest China's military-industrial capacity is up to 10 times greater than that of the U.S., in terms of scale and output speed. This would play a critical role in any prolonged confrontation, where replacement of lost assets and munitions is essential. Furthermore, China's internal supply chains, large labor force, and raw materials access allow for a high degree of wartime self-sufficiency, a strategic advantage in a regionally confined scenario. Beyond missiles and aircraft, the risk of war between the U.S. and China also carries a massive economic toll. China and the United States are deeply intertwined through trade, financial markets, and global supply chains. If open conflict were to break out, global markets would likely face immediate instability. American companies would lose access to the world's second-largest economy, while China could face sanctions and trade embargoes, a lose-lose situation with ripple effects across Europe and Asia. War, in this context, is not just a military gamble but an economic one with global consequences. Despite the scale of the recent military exercises, most analysts agree that they are unlikely to lead directly to armed confrontation. Rather, they serve as demonstrations of readiness, resolve, and alliance solidarity. China's growing capabilities and industrial power make any direct conflict extremely costly for all parties involved. For now, the strategic calculus on both sides seems to favor posturing, deterrence, and limited signaling over escalation. The world will continue to watch developments in the Pacific with caution, knowing that peace in the region depends not just on military strength, but on diplomacy, restraint, and shared interest in stability.